Children in Spain don't bring packed lunches to school. No, they have a hot meal every single day. For families relocating to Spain from other countries, this can come as quite a shock. Let me talk you through exactly how it works. I'm Sinead Galvin, founder of Steps into Spain, and I help families to find the right school for their child here in Madrid. So let's dive into the comedor, otherwise known as the school canteen. This is where the children have their hot meal every single day. A hot meal includes a starter, a main course, dessert served with water and bread. The canteen, the meals are usually supervised by what is known as monitores, although sometimes the teachers can also be there to keep an eye on the children. The school menu, the lunch menu, is published on all school websites, and it's usually posted on the first of the month, and it's available for the entire month. This is really convenient because at least it shows you, well, your children have had this today, and it helps you to decide or to plan what your children are going to have for their evening meal. An important question to ask when you're visiting schools is if the school canteen is managed within the school, that they have their own kitchen, cocina propia, or if it's managed by external catering. It varies by school, and it's an important question to ask, and something that all Spanish families will ask schools when they're visiting. What exactly is on the menu in a school here in Spain? And this is the part where sometimes parents can think, oh my God, if they're moving from another country. So menus will follow the Mediterranean principles, which means children will eat a lot of legumes like chickpeas, lentils, beans and peas. Music to parents' ears and sometimes horrifying to our children. They will also eat meat, they will also eat fish, they will eat what's in season with fruit and vegetables. I mean, we live here in Spain, so in that respect we're very, very fortunate. Then they will be accompanied with some bread and some water. It's important to note that about 35% of our children's energy intake for the day it comes from their school menu. And another important stat, about 60% of all kids in Spain will have their hot school meal. The portions can be quite generous. If children really want to, they can repeat, and if they really dislike something, well, then they can kind of negotiate, eat a little bit, and that should be okay. So of course, children that will have their main meal of the day at school, there is a cost implication, and this does vary by the types of schools. If your child is going to a public school, well, then at the moment, this is 2026, the school menu will cost €5.50 a day. Multiply that by the number of school days of the month by about 20, and then you get how much you're going to pay for school lunches. There are some children that will get free school lunches, but this is based on is means tested. Then within a concertado school and a private school, the school lunches for your monthly menu can range between €150, €160 to €200. Again, unfortunately, these prices are going up, so this is what we're paying right now in 2026. Lunch fees are billed monthly, and that will happen in all of the schools, okay? What's important to note is that almost all children will have their lunch at school. Of course, there are some exceptions, and there are some children that will go home for lunch, but for most working parents, it's quite convenient to know that their children are going to have lunch at school, and of course that you know that they're having a healthy meal, that this is a big meal of the day and that it's a healthy option for our children. Besides the fact of having something to eat at school, there's also the social element of having your lunch. You're sitting with your friends at the canteen, you're enjoying lunch. Another important point of school lunches here in Spain is that they're teaching children from a very young age how to eat healthily, and of course healthy eating habits. Wash your hands before you sit down to eat a meal. Another important point with the school lunches are dietary requirements and allergies. One of my children is celiac and obviously cannot eat gluten, and it's something that of course you worry as a parent that she's going to eat something that's going to make her feel ill. The schools are fantastic in that respect. The children with egg allergies, with fruit allergies, with gluten allergies, with every kind of allergy is looked after in the schools, and the schools will cater specifically for children with allergies. For example, my daughter who's celiac, in her school she gets a specific color tray. So for all the children that are celiac will have, so there are no mistakes. What I have seen on some of my school visits is that some schools, to make it a little bit easier, will seat all the children with allergies at one specific table. To be honest, I think that's very unfair. Because I know even for my own daughter, lunch is a time when she gets to hang out with her friends in a very relaxed setting. And to have to sit with other kids because she already has this allergy, it doesn't seem right to me. But then let's move on to dietary requirements, because this varies. Schools, for example, will respect dietary requirements based on specific religions. For example, children that can't eat pork, that's respected. But for a child who is vegan by choice, that can actually be quite a challenge to find a school that will cater to this here in Madrid. This incident happened to me a couple of years ago with one of my families who were vegan because of a religious preference, but didn't really have any doctor's requirement for choosing to be vegan. In their public school, they were not accommodated in the public school. I spoke to all of the schools within that neighborhood, which is within here in Madrid city center, and no school could accommodate it. I did eventually find a school, but it was an international school and it was very far away, and that's not what the family wanted. So now the families 2 years in are still picking up their daughter when it comes to lunchtime, bringing her home, feeding her at home, and then bringing her back to school afterwards. So if your child is vegan, do not assume that the school will cater to a vegan diet. It's best to check in advance. So, will your child eat everything that's on the menu if they're coming from another country and this is their first time having a meal like this at a school setting? Most likely they won't. But, and this is based on experience of my lots and lots of families since 2020, they do get used to it, and they will eventually become to like the dishes. Of course, as always, as us as adults as well, there's some dishes that we like more than others. What some families do initially to try and help their child is all schools will allow a child bring in a morning snack, which they usually eat at around 11. They might bring in a substantial morning snack to help keep them going throughout the day, and then their parents, when they come to pick them up from school, with the merienda, your afternoon snack, and we'll try and balance it that way. But children do eventually get used to the Spanish diet, and it is a really healthy option for our children, and it's also a really convenient option as working parents. If you need to help finding the school that's the right one for your child, do get in touch with Steps into Spain. Let's have a chat, send me a message. If you want to find out more about schools here in Spain, here in Madrid, subscribe to our channel. So there you have it. This is what El Comedor looks like in Spanish schools and what our children eat on a daily basis. If you're looking for other information like that, insights, insider knowledge to schools here in Spain, subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you need help looking for the right school for your child here in Madrid, get in contact. I'd love to hear from you.